Baba.
And I, Harsh Panjwani,
welcome you all to the most awaited event of today, CEO Summit by NDIM. The event is a part of Spandan X Metanoia, the annual cultural fest of New Delhi Institute of Management. We take immense pride in introducing our institution NDIM. Set up in 1992 by retired UPSC heads, bureaucrats, and Supreme Court judges, New Delhi Institute of Management has been declared Best Management Institute of India for industry linkages and under 19 other parameters 3 years in a row by the AICTE Government of India and the CII Confederation of Indian Industry after their nationwide year-long surveys of all the 10,000 plus technical and higher education government-approved institutions across India. Having been declared best in India 3 years in a row, NDIM has been elevated and declared as the first and the only mentor institute in India in the management category by the AICTE and the CII. NDIM has been declared best also by the ASSOCHAM continuously for the last 5 years and by FICCI in February 2021 for placements. NDIM is one of the only 2 MBA schools chosen by the Government of India for grand finale of Smart India Hackathon in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Government of India's biggest digital revolution and world's largest startup movement to create 25,000 startups. First and the only pan-India incubation center of ASSOCHAM for student startups.
NDIM is the NSDC Center for Technical Internship Training Program for training and sending manpower to Japan and has been declared India's International Skills Center by NSDC, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship of Government of India. NDIM is the only B school in India to be Pan-India Incubation Partner for Apex Trade and Industry Chamber ASSOCHAM and has thus created finest entrepreneurial environment in the campus. Without further ado, let us introduce you to the biggest event of today, CEO Summit. CEO Summit with the industry titans, some of the most innovative thinkers of today, is the place to be for all budding and aspiring leaders of tomorrow. The summit, one of its kind, where today's leader will leave an everlasting impression on the leaders of tomorrow. CEO Summit provides an incredible opportunity to learn, a platform to build relationships, and a chance to make difference. CEOs and corporate veterans from different sectors have been called upon to give their perspective on the current leadership challenges, global trends ruling the market, and exciting insight into the management world.
The topic for discussion today is My Strategies for Business Success, Beating the Pandemic Blues and Global Crisis. But hold on. Before we move forward, let us introduce you to our esteemed panelists. We have amongst us Mr. Alok B. Shriram, who is the Senior Managing Director and CEO of DCM Shriram Industries Limited. DCM Shriram Industries is a part of the Shriram Group, a 125-year-old Delhi-based conglomerate started by Lala Shriram, a doyen of Indian industry. Mr. Alok was the former president of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a 110-year-old national chamber based in Delhi, having offices in 20 states and union territories. At present, he is a member of the prestigious Rotary Club of Delhi Premier. We welcome you, sir.
Another veteran from the industry is Mr. Jagdip Singh, who heads the Sigma Group of companies as the Group Chairman. The Sigma Group is considered as one of the largest and well-respected groups in the field of automobile components manufacturing. In a long-lasting active career spanning over 5 decades, Mr. Singh has been appointed as Honorary Consul General of Republic of Kora to the states of Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, and the Union Territory of Chandigarh. Apart from being a successful entrepreneur, he is deeply involved in functioning of his trust by the name of Sundar Santokh Foundation Charitable Trust that extends the financial help to widows, sick, destitute, old and helpless people by paying regular grants. We welcome you, sir.
Our third panelist for the day is Mr. Surendra Kumar Arya, who is the chairman of JBM Group. He started his journey in 1983 by setting up JBM Industries, formerly known as Kora Gas Cylinders Limited, as his first entrepreneurial venture, which is today one of the leading suppliers to Indian oil and gas companies. Owing to his significant contribution to the auto component industry, Mr. Arya has consistently been recognized and has been conferred with awards like National Unity Award, Gem of India, Udyog Ratna, Haryana Ratna, Best Entrepreneur for the Year, to name a few. Mr. Arya is also the executive member, ACMA Northern Region, Chairman, Vichar Television Network, and has been the chairman of Haryana State Council of CII. We welcome you, sir.
We would now like to introduce our chairman, Dr. V.M. Bunsel. Dr. V.M. Bunsel has been a distinguished civil servant. He has been the longest serving secretary and collector and principal commissioner of DDA, Government of India, for 17 years and is director for 11 years. He has headed several public sector undertakings and Department of Government of Delhi, Punjab and Government of India. He was an advisor to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi at the time of Commonwealth Games. He is a special invitee to the Education and Skill Committees of FICCI and ASSOCHAM and heads the Committee on New Initiative at DMA. He is the chairman of Education Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He has presented papers at several organizations for the international reputation. We welcome you, sir, and request you to take the gathering forward.
Thank you, Harish and Pritha. Thank you, Professor Tina.
It's a great pleasure honoring and welcoming my friends and NDIM's great supporters, Arya ji, Jagdip Singh ji, Alok ji. In fact, all the participants or attendees will be very happy to know that Mr. Alok Shriram and Mr. Arya, they are on the board of directors of NDIM. And J.D. Singh ji has been our guide and mentor for a very, very long time. And it is their support which is helping the faculty and the students here in a very, very big way. I thank them very much for being with us today when we are toward the closing of a 3-day national level festival hosted by the NDM students and faculty. That's been very big success, and it's a bigger success with the association and the presence of such great industry stalwarts who have been a very big help to us all the time. And all the attendees, it's a pleasure having you all here. Generally, we have been conducting our webinars in the evening, but yes, today we called you in the afternoon because after this is a prize distribution from 6 o'clock onwards. And so we thought that this entire event must end with a great learning from these great stalwarts. So I'll not take more time of yours. I will request Alok Shriram ji, who is the doyen of the Indian industry, one of the oldest and the strongest business houses of the country. And they have a lot of learning, lot of experiences that they want to share with us, with you people, the next generation and the academia. So Alok ji, please take over from me.
Thank you, Bunsel. It's a pleasure to be here with my co-panelists, Mr. Singh and Mr. Arya. I would keep my opening remarks a little short because I think there are many better learning than what I could give. I think the topic which has been chosen today is very important because we all plan for how we will grow and how things will get better and better. But at the same time, we must also plan for speed bumps, road bumps, and tough times. So the first thing I will start, point I would like to make is that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You all must have heard of a swimmer called Michael Phelps. I think he is the most well-known swimmer in the world. He got, if I remember correctly, 28 medals in the Olympics. But what you all may not know is that after he got his first 17, 18 medals, he retired from swimming and he went into a very rough patch. He became a drunkard, he became a junkie, he started taking drugs, etc. And for 5 or 7 years, he was absolutely down in the dumps. But somewhere realization came to him, and he realized that he, at the age of about hardly 30 or 32, his life was just going downhill. At that point, he talked to his old coach and decided that he would get back to swimming. Of course, you can imagine at the age of 30 plus, it's too old for a swimmer really. But he decided that he would do the best he could and practice harder than he had ever done. And in the Rio Olympics, he went there to participate, but he came back with 5 gold medals. And I think finally he retired at the age of 33 after the Rio Olympics with 28 gold medals. So we have to realize that life goes up, life goes down, but you can't run from euphoria to an abyss of despair. Ultimately, your future is in your hands. You have to see reality. You have to take all the necessary actions. Last 3 years, in the recession, then obviously COVID hit, and now this Ukraine war, which is going on. All are going to make life very difficult for us. The first learning I've had in the last 40 years of working is that whenever the going gets tough, you have to tighten your belts. And this I'm talking primarily for old world businesses like ours. You have to tighten your belt, conserve cash flows, because cash flows are the only reality there is. You have to take quick actions in places. You don't worry so much about profits, very frankly. You worry more about cash flows. Cash flows are what keep you afloat and keep you going. Even if you see the newer businesses which talk of valuations and things, ultimately it's all the game is about cash flows. You have to be able to have enough cash in the bank to continue your business till you get profitability or you get the valuations. So don't lose sight of your business model. Keep it right in front of you. What goes down will come up one day, and you have to be able to go through these tough times. The second advice I would have is that all of us today have a lot of data. I mean, data is actually far more than what we need in most cases. There was this old feeling of working with your gut. Ultimately, everyone had a certain amount of data, and at the end, the decisions were made on the ultimate gut feel. So while you get data, I think today in difficult times, it's very important to look at data differently. And again, I'm going to give you a small footnote on that. During the Second World War, you would remember that there were lots of air battles over Britain and over Germany, etc. And every time the planes would come back to Britain, they would be all shot up. So there was a whole team of scientists who used to look at the planes and see where the bullet holes and all were. And they would start strengthening those areas so that the planes would perform better. But one mathematician in Cambridge, I think, he came up with a totally different model of the same data. He said, why are we looking at the place where the bullet holes are? Because these are the planes which have come back. Let us study the areas where the bullet holes are not there, which means those are the areas where the planes most probably crashed. So let us strengthen those. And the rate of damage of the planes or the loss of planes came down. So it was the same, interpreted totally differently. The next learning I would suggest is keep close to the market. Ultimately, the market is all that matters in a business. If you remember what Sam Walton said, he told his people, he says, the only person who can fire all of us is the customer. The market is what matters. Keep close to the market. Many people get involved in nitty-gritty of other things, but they forget the market. And if someone is not buying your product, you're not really in business. So ultimately, stay close to the market. The next is that very often when things are going well, people hear all sorts of opportunities coming and they get into all sorts of businesses. But when the going is tough, stick to your knitting. Business you know, stay with that. Don't go into absolutely businesses where you have no or low experience. Avoid long shots. This time will pass, then you will do better. You will have a chance to take those long shots. The next point I would make is to invest in people. As a business owner and a business manager, you cannot do everything. So you have to get people, you have to hire good people, hire them well, pay them well, invest in their training. And also, if you make a mistake, have the guts to own up to that mistake, disengage with that person and hire someone else. Do not carry on a mistake of hiring the wrong person and then having all the problems that come with it. Also, you can't do everything. And as a chief executive, your time is precious. So if you can get other people to do it, so much the better. Ultimately, in all business, change is very important. That's the only real constant. And when the going gets tough, it is time to look at everything very in a harsh manner and remodel yourself. Cut out the flab, cut out the waste costs, and really be almost brutal, if I may say. The last thing I would say is keep time for yourself. Physical and mental peace is important. So at least an hour and a half a day. This is especially for youngsters. As we get older, we always manage to take time for walks and all. But at the age of 30 and 40, the work pressures, family pressures are the most. And when the going is tough, you all don't have any time. But be a little selfish. Take an hour and a half a day for yourself. Do some physical exercise, some mental exercise, do some hobby. Something will distract you. This will make you much more productive for the rest of the time that you're doing work. Well, almost the last thing now is keep time for your family. This is one area we all tend to forget. We believe that we are doing our work and everything for the family, but the family is the priority. Keep some time for them and keep grounded in the realities that they are the most important thing in your life. Finally, the last bit of advice I'd have is don't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's not going to happen. So if you've done something and it's not worked, think of some other way. Use advice from your friends, family, executives, everyone. Find a way to do something that doesn't work. Or doesn't work. These were my opening remarks. I'd like to thank Bunsel for inviting me here. I hope I've been of some help in this discussion.
Certainly, Alokji, you have summed up the whole thing like 9 sutras or 18 sutras of success. So thank you very much, and we'll come back to you again after we learn from JD Singh ji and Arya ji. We'll come back to you once again, sir. We'll ask some specific questions on your specific learnings and journey during the last 2 years and the future things. How are you going to handle the international scenario emerging and the COVID, again, 4th waves and 5th waves looming in the air? So we'll come back to you, sir. So JD Singh Saab, you are the Consul General of Republic of South Korea to Northern Indian states. You are a self-made man, I know it. And you run such a big industrial empire and you still keep very happy, very smiling all the time, always available to your friends and relatives. So, sir, kindly guide us what exactly is your learning and what the new generation or what the academia should pick up from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, first of all, I would say I'm still not I'm still not fully aware what all happened to all of us, in last 2 or 3 years. It is something, which is kind of confusing. unprecedented. It was like a bombshell, So to give advice is still a little premature in my point of view. But yes, certainly I will share with you what all we went through and how we maneuvered ourselves to go ahead in the right direction. And touch wood, we were pretty successful in those areas, So first of all, I will like to touch, the background of business strategies, what all we should do or we did, While I have written everything, but there are so many points, it is important that I have to write it all, While vision of a company is generally a long-term in nature, it may evolve with time. Then strategy, on the other hand, needs to be dynamic and responsive to changing market landscapes. Third, in 2019, businesses, especially automotive, were already facing systematic downturn with 30% drop in sales in domestic markets. Fourth, the then COVID and everything came crashing down. Demand issues got further complex during the pandemic and were followed by the unprecedented rise in commodity prices and freight costs. This freight cost was also a bolt from the blue. Nobody ever thought that freight cost can be as unreasonable as maybe 6, 7, 800 percent. COVID brought many challenges and caught a lot of us off guard, and we had to strategize to protect and safeguard ourselves. Next, a lot of uncertainties involved many minds. It was time for businesses to wake up to the reality of a prolonged pain cycle and create a sustainable strategies to stabilize ourselves to afford a future. Now, we will touch COVID blues. While we are here to discuss strategies for beating COVID and global crisis, let me not leave out that what we discuss today is not only strategies, but also learnings from the issues businesses have faced in the last 3 years. I list for you some of the points that Sigma as a group has developed that have worked successfully for us. Number 1, cash is king. Cash is conservation. There's no better time to conserve cash than in times like these. During COVID, fears of defaults have been high around the world. All governments worldwide have pumped money into the system. Our strategy has been to conserve cash. Here, our focus has been to better manage our payment cycles, quicken our payment cycle, and generate more cash for the company. Inventory turnover been another strategy where we moved from inventory turnover ratios of 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 times of our sales. We did this by negotiating better terms with our suppliers that have been moved to vendor managed inventory system. Number 2, cost control and focus on bottom line. We have been a group with a keen eye on the bottom line, which is profitability. We are very, very particular on the bottom line. There has been a keen focus in generating savings from having targeted improvements in operational efficiencies and productivity. This has helped generate cash flows for the company, which can then be used as a war chest during difficult times such as COVID. As a matter of fact, we created a war chest, the company. Next, rationing of capital expenditure. As business environment has remained volatile, Sigma has controlled and limited its capital expenditure. Next, focus on short term with an eye on the future. Sigma as a group has a strong presence in aftermarket or replacement markets for the automotive segment. Further focus has been given in these times to this business area. During COVID time, where in general the public was conservative in making new purchases of expensive items such as cars, maintaining current fleets therefore meant a growing demand for spares. With a long-term focus on the aftermarket segment, Sigma was able to mitigate some of the effects of downturn in the OEM segment. Then the next point, which is very important. Now, we'll talk about business strategies for global crisis. COVID led us into global crisis that threatens the top line. But the rising commodity price also threatened the bottom line. The Russian-Ukraine war has galvanized these conditions and led us into a perfect storm. Sigma has pushed for diversification in our market segments, from OEM to aftermarket, from domestic to exports to Europe and Americas. This has given us some elbow room to mitigate a lot of our market and segment related risk. Also, our global presence in Europe and US has supported us in protecting our bottom line through a local for local approach. In such a scenario where global supply chains are threatened, being locally present has allayed fears of our international customers. Next, commodity pricing has been shooting through the roof with no respite in sight. If a company is cash rich, it's like having a war chest that can be deployed to various uses. We have used it frequently to purchase in bulk and in advance of anticipated price hikes in the commodities. This had helped us delay effects on our bottom line as we negotiate price increases with our customers. In conclusion, the private sector naturally cannot be fully prepared for the perfect storm facing us. Governments around the world are expected to react and stabilize investments in environment in their respective countries. But we internally need to strategize and be best prepared. To summarize for us, some of the things that have worked well have been as follows. Number one, diversification across markets and segments, cash conservation, cost controls, bottom line focus, creating operational efficiencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You have been very sharp and very pointed. Thank you so much. And because I would also request you to share your learnings which happened as the Consul General all these years, for which you are having the second term now, because all of us here are sitting here to be exposed to such things which we are not fully aware of ourselves. So more we come to know of such things, it will be bigger and greater learning for us. Thank you so much, sir. We'll come back to you after a little while once again. Thank you. And Surendra, Arya sahab, you have been a big support, as I mentioned earlier also. And friends, Mr. Arya is currently in Dubai for some business, and he very kindly accepted our request to speak to you and share his learnings during this time and his way forward. Thank you so much. And Surendra, Arya ji, please, we would love to now listen and learn from you.
Thank you, Dr. Bunsel. Thanks a lot. Basically, I will be talking more of what all challenges we faced during this period and what actions we took, what was the strategy behind it, and what kind of results we got. So I will be more talking of the practical part, what we have done, actually we have done. So that will be a little different from my friends. So though I have learned a lot from both Alok ji and Jagdip Singh ji what they spoke. So we identified all the challenges into 7 categories. First was safety. Second was employees' health. Third was employee engagement. Fourth was customer connect. Fifth was organization process. Sixth was digitization and automation. and 7th was business sustenance and growth. So now I will be talking about each of these 7 aspects and our strategy and the impact, what happened. So first on safety. So the strategy was the employee safety and safety of our value chain partners was a key focus area for us at the onset of COVID and during the lockdown. And we leveraged all digital technologies and built state-of-the-art products such as facial recognition and social distancing solutions, which not only helped us resume our factory and office operations seamlessly and efficiently, but also provided a safe working environment to all our employees. And the impact of this was that this latest use of technology became the driver for providing safety to our employees and created a culture of change and adaptation of the new technologies within the organization. Employees' health was the biggest concern. So the strategy what we adopted, a healthy body can carry a healthy mind, and both are required to perform. So this aspect also became a prime focus for us. We initiated a program called Sankalp Siddhi for mental and physical well-being. Under this program, employees and their family members took oath to overcome personal and professional challenges and took targets to achieve goals in both these areas of their lives. To further enhance the health of our employees, we initiated the Joyful Body and Mind program. The full form of this also is JBM, the Joyful Body and Mind program, through our wellness coach, Mr. Mukesh Acharya ji. Under this initiative, yoga sessions were being held, and we offered multiple times during the day, which resulted in increased focus, productivity, and positivity for our employees. To offer regular support to those employees and their families who were infected with COVID, we entered into collaboration with various medical service providers to offer testing and bed facilities. The impact was that healthy employees became more focused and efficient, and hence the productivity and motivation of our employees improved drastically. Employee engagement. Employee engagement was very important for us to enable continuous operations. So we focused on cultivating the 6 C attributes: calm, confident, communication, collaboration, community, and compassion. We initiated forums, discussions, team meetings, virtual events, virtual havans, and online training programs to create an internal work environment which promoted communication and collaboration and the compassion, and ultimately transformed our staff and employees into calm and confident individuals. We established a committee of key people, a CFT, in the leadership team to deal with the uncertainty and lack of direction during the initial onset of COVID-19. The purpose was to discuss the challenges and the issues being faced by the JBMites and to support them. This CFT brainstormed and formulated guidelines for daily work management, we call it DWM, during COVID, created policies and norms to meet the requirement of government guidelines. We educated staff and employees to utilize and institutionalize these guidelines. The impact was the employees' motivation improved, anxiety reduced, and employees were far better prepared to deal with the COVID situation, both mentally and physically. Staff and employees became aware of do's and don'ts and started using the SOPs guidelines to manage their daily tasks. This brought back the focus to work at hand, raising the overall productivity levels. Customer Connect, as Alok ji was talking of Customer Connect, the marketing. So the strategy was the customer concentricity has been the mantra for our successful journey. And we wanted to maintain the same focus despite the lockdown and pandemic. We initiated digital collaboration with customers through regular virtual meetings to identify the opportunities to support them in continuing their business safely and effectively. We started offering our digital products to many of our customers, and they were able to generate huge business value and were able to overcome the anxiety of resuming the operations during the pandemic. The impact was the business uncertainty and demand uncertainty was reduced through continuous planning and communication with value chain partners and our customers. For organization processes, our strategy was that we undertook projects such as Leap to unlock the hidden potential of cost optimization through low-cost automation, VAV, operational excellence. And a CFT was created to undertake these projects across the group, which became driver for improvement of the bottom line. My friend Jagdip Singh was talking about bottom line, so our focus was also there on bottom line. We used analytical and mathematical models to better forecast and predict the demand, reducing the risk of our of over or under production. Impact enabled us to remain focused and manage risk to ensure minimal turbulence for our operations. Digitization and automation. To further harness the values from digital technology, we embarked on the journey of forming a new business vertical in the artificial intelligence and developed several new products which we have since consumed internally and have also offered to customers across industries. The important point here to understand is that a small idea of using digital manifested into a new startup and a new business. For students like you, all who have done MBA and are now ready to step into new world, this can be a great example of how each idea can become big if the choice of both the product and market are right. The impact, use of technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics resulted in products which helped us offer safe environment to our employees and customers. Use of tools such as Teams meeting, virtual plant visits enabled connect with the employees and resulted in high motivation and engagement. Growth of top line and bottom line. Growth of both top line and bottom line is crucial for any business, and we realized this was more so during the pandemic due to associated uncertainties. To overcome the challenge of uncertain demand and supply, poor cash flows, and reducing profitability, we established and sustained continued communication with our customers and initiated regular meetings with our vendors and channel partners to gain more insights into the market dynamics and to plan production accordingly. Financial prudence became very, very important for us during this period. And it was of the utmost importance, and we took many initiatives in this direction to improve liquidity. We renegotiated our contract terms, AMCs, payment terms, converting fixed rate of interest to floating rate of interest, refinancing of loans, and worked on making fixed cost to variable cost to ensure availability of cash so that we could serve our customer better, which enabled us to remain focused and manage risk of both top line and bottom line, creating minimum turbulence to our operations. So I think these were the few things which I just wanted to share, that what all we did. So whatever is the learning for students, I think we will be very happy if we can share or and then can be demonstrated at any point of time.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arya ji. It has been tremendous lot of learning. Like Alok ji and JD ji, you just tried to sum up your journey, your pressures, and how you continue to remain successful and continue to be on your vision or mission of a $5 billion company. So we wish you all the very, very best, and we'll just come back to you. Now I'll come back to Alok ji once again. Again, I repeat, Alok ji mentioned a couple of points which are very relevant to us. Again, he was discussing the other days about the emerging global scenario. So global crisis. So how is he, I mean, we do not really know, all of you mentioned what exactly is going to take shape, what is going to be affected in the long run. But Alok ji, how you're trying to handle, because such a big and vast business empire of yours, how are you really trying to take care of those uncertainties which are taking a very bad shape across the world? Economy is on the very big hit everywhere. So how are you really trying to tackle and handle all this? Because that is what is learning for all of us.
Bunsel, I think it's a very important and interesting question which you raised. You would note that from all three of our speakers, we all emphasized on liquidity and cash flow.
Yeah.
I think as a business leader, all of us recognize that as possibly the single most important thing, because if you don't have cash, the rest of the good intentions just stays intentions. They cannot be converted to reality.
Quite right.
In our businesses, as you know, we manufacture sugar, alcohol, fibers, and chemicals. We managed, because we were continuous processes, and there is no question of stopping our plant, because once you stop a plant, it's a long-term stoppage. It's not something you can start on shift every shift. By and large, the government gave us options, and we were able to continue running our plants. But that didn't mean we didn't have a huge number of challenges, because while we could run plants, so we had to work very strategically and very fast. We had to take it down the line to people to the task done, whether it was we were in the middle of a very large expansion in our sugar plant. We did in a short span of 5 months, from May last year to November last year. But that meant going to Pune even in the middle of the pandemic, and I must commend our executives who did not try and shy away from that. It meant moving raw materials and goods by train, or people going physically and bringing it in their cars. We did all the necessary steps. We, as Mr. Arya said, we set up various methodologies to keep talking to our customers, because a lot of our customers are global. We have customers literally from Mexico to Japan. And we were virtually on a weekly contact with them, because while we were working from home in our corporate sector, the corporate part of the office, the factories were running. But in Europe and America, they were actually working from home. Even now, we have very large customers in Europe where their executives have even today not come back to office after 2.5 years. And I think they're going to come back later on this year. Some of the people who are handling us have joined these companies. For example, we have a senior executive in Pirelli, and for almost 2.5 years, he's not been to office. He joined, was kept at home, and now he will go to office in September or something for the first time. So there were a huge number of challenges. You have to, I would say, don't think of this as one big challenge. Think of it as 100 small challenges. Every morning, get up, get to office, and see how you can solve it one by one. Don't get bogged down. Very often I see people who say, oh my God, it's such a big human problem. It's such a big problem. What do we do? If you have hypothetically 100 employees, try and think of it as 100 problems. And I think in this situation, you've got to deal with them individually, rather than saying we have a one size fits all and then have a very big problem on your head. we did a lot of interesting things in helping our people go through this terrible time. You know, last year, in the middle of the year, when that Delta variant came, I personally have never seen such devastation in my life. Every morning I used to get up and I used to be almost scared to pick up the phone, not knowing how many more people who I know have got COVID of that variant. Of course, the present variant is a little better, but so the same situation was with our executives, both at our corporate office, our divisional offices, our factories. But we then had our systems set up for helping each and every one of them individually based on the kind of problems they had and what their families have, what their situations were. I think that was what was important. This was something I think Mr. Arya was also mentioning, that they had this whole system for handling individual problems rather than treating it as one single, one-size-fit-all solution. I was seeing the questions, and one of the questions which came up is interesting. It says, dear sirs, do you feel that pandemic has inspired corporates for planning on contingency reserves as part of business continuity and disaster management? I don't know how many businesses have looked at contingency reserve as a financial reserve, but I think continuity and disaster management has come to the fore, and many of the questions we used to leave unanswered because we all have environmental scans and disaster management plans, but those disaster managements are more in terms of if there's an accident or if there's a fire. But I think this pandemic in the present crop has shown us that we also got to go into the organizational disaster management. And a lot of corporates have now started looking at that. For example, in our case, we have laid the session plan right from me downwards. As the chief executive, if something happens, who will take over? If something happens, who will take over? And at all levels, we've done that. We've got a system of financial planning and financial delegations for that also, so that nothing stops the business. So I think a lot more disaster management, internal disaster management on organization has taken place. Another question I came was, should there be a regulatory mandate for reserves and surpluses, such as like in CSR? Many MSMEs could not serve the debt or even went to significant pay cuts and unwarranted layoffs. Now, look, I don't think there's anything which will be served by having a regulatory mandate of reserves and surpluses for such a disaster. You know, we all plan for business coming down, business being 10%, 20%, 30% hit. But unfortunately, here was a situation where business was hit by 100%. So I think we've got to again look at it realistically, that when you have a situation like that, you will have a lot of unfortunate spin-offs like layoffs and things. But each one has a different way of handling it. We tried in our company our best not to do any form of layoff, any form of pay cuts. But we were very fortunate that we have a set of enlightened employees. And you won't believe it, all our employees took a 20% pay cut for 6 months during the worst of the disaster. And this was voluntary. We did not ask even one of them. The unions, the senior officers, top to bottom, they came to us and said, we understand the issues, we understand the problem. This is how we can chip in. So I think it is more a matter of motivating your people when the going is good than worrying about pay cuts and layoffs, because those will happen whether you like it or not. If a business is closed, it's closed. Let's understand that as a fact. And you have to take a decision whether you will affect 100% of your employees by having the business shut down, or maybe affect 20% of your employees, or how everyone can share the pay, which I'm again saying that I'm fortunate that we have a set of enlightened employees who shared the pain, and the company came out a lot stronger, not so much for the financial, but I think the whole environment in the company changed after this, when they agreed to the layoff. We've actually, since then, I think by the end of this year, we'll actually give back all the money that the employees took, pay cuts that they took. But it was just the gesture that the employees made of agreeing to take a pay cut without any discussion with us. They actually came to us. So I think this is very important. In this whole situation, I personally had two very interesting learnings. One was this whole work from home culture. I come from the old school where you have to get to office at 8:39 in the morning, work your whole day. And here was a situation where for almost 2 years, one couldn't go to office. We managed it in our company quite well. All our people were working. And having seen their commitment, we didn't go into these things of, having spy cameras and all that. But our people did all the jobs that were necessary, all from home. And we had certain days where people were allowed to come because there's a lot of paperwork. So, twice a week, offices were open for half a day and executives could take permission, come do their paperwork and go back. The other thing which I learned, which is very important, I think, is delegation and empowerment of my people. Older companies like ours tend to have a slightly centralized delegation and empowerment structure. But I think this was a great opportunity where a lot of the people down the line got empowered. They were taking decisions, they were moving ahead. And I think that has left personally me and our senior management team much freer for long-term strategies and seeing how the business will go ahead. Thank you, Bunsel. I know I've taken a little more time than I should have. But,
No, not at all. We have a lot of time. In fact, we have a lot of time left with us. And all the panelists today have been very, very conscious of the time. And so lot new things and more things are coming from each one of you. Thank you very much for all this. And JD Singh, sir, if you're with us. Yeah. So we were discussing about, you must have been also facing challenges and maybe facing even now as the Consul General of whatever happened during the last 2 years and whatever is in the air, even with the change of I would say, Prime Minister or President in Korea yesterday. So how do you handle these challenges? What are again advices or suggestions for the academia for all of us here?
Okay, thank you. See, first of all, whatever my friend Alok has just spoken, I think almost everyone is doing the same. It's an unspoken rule of the game. It started in, practically 2019, but I would call it 2017. Because in the automotive industry, we started facing this huge challenge 2 years before the COVID. As I spoke, with 30% down with our business since 1917. So we all of us, or I would say most of us, have the same way of dealing with the problem. Like he said, we were operating from home, so were we. We never went to our office for 2 years. We were in our farmhouse, and we have about 50 people working in the farmhouse. No one was allowed to go out of the gate for 2 years. Only if something very bad has happened, we'll open the gate. Otherwise, nothing doing. We had a couple of cars standing outside the farm where if we need some sabzi wabzi, then they will go and buy. So similarly, in our companies on the front, our production touch would almost never stopped. Very frankly, we never stopped our production except for about 2 months. People were, as far as staff is concerned, they were working from home, but our companies were running. And that is why today I would say that we are lucky that we have no major losses during the COVID time and even now, but we are still very, very well prepared because we don't know things may come tomorrow. So let us not think that this is the end of COVID. This is a respite, and जिसके बोलते हैं थोड़ा सा सांस लेने का टाइम मिला है, तो सांस लें, लेकिन ये बोले कि कल बाबा जी फिर आ सकते हैं. So God forbid, we pray Almighty that this should not come. But I think we have learned enough now. Even if it comes, we have learned enough how to counter it. What we learned actually from 17 to 19 with the automotive industry going very down, that helped us a lot to fight with the COVID also, because things are already settled, in that way. So we were that way. I would say we are lucky that okay, we had a bad time in 17 to 19, but then came the worst time, so we were able to work it out. But the name of the game is the same for everyone. Everyone has done the same thing, and somewhere people shut down the plant for 2 months, some 3 months, but a lot of people, I would say, they've been running their companies somehow or the other. Company was run, and as he said, employees were very concerned about what is happening. It's not that only we were concerned; employees were also concerned, and in our companies, people themselves came to us and told them we would like to decrease our salaries up to 50%. Some people offered 50%. Those top level, like they were drawing about 7-8 lakhs. They say we'll cut off by 50%. So it was game. It was one family for everyone. So I would say that thank God things are now behind us for the time being. But we learned so much in our life, so much, because I am now 70 plus, and I have never seen this kind of thing ever happening. Never heard also what to say. Never heard of. No experience, zero experience. But the fact is, this experience is not only for me, but for everyone. It was for us a war, which we fought. But as I spoke earlier also, the war chest. We must maintain a war chest in life. One thing very clear we have learned, and that war chest only saved us, So that's all, Kike.
No, thank you, sir. No, very useful. We are learning. Everybody went through that very tough time, very challenging time, very unprecedentedly unknown times. But still,
now thing is, we don't know what is going to happen now with
whatever you are saying, it is still adding a lot of additional knowledge, additional information to all of us, because otherwise one was only facing their limited challenges. That's why we hold such discussions and webinars, so that we can learn from bigger challenges that friends like you faced and you are still facing. No, thank you so much, sir. And now later on, we'll be coming back to you with some questions, and then we go to Surendra Arya ji. Arya sir, on the same thing again, things are in turmoil. Your sector continues to be possibly hit once again because of very high oil and gas prices. So what exactly are you suggesting or guiding to your people, to your workmen, to your supply chain supporters, and what do we learn out of it?
For us, presently, even the bigger problem is the availability of the chips, because the chips are not available. So the volume has gone down, most of our customers. Though the demand in automobile is so high, especially in cars, there is a waiting maybe from 6 months to 1 year, because the chips are not available and the car production has gone down drastically. And that is not just in India, that is a global situation, because it's not available. So because of that, the uncertainty, and every day our customers, they have to change which car will be produced today. So a lot of uncertainties are there. So we have to be very flexible, very, very flexible. So that if the model A is not being made, model B is being made. So we have to have all the parts available. And most of the places, or rather all the places, JBM is supplying just in time. The inventory for our customers, for our parts, somewhere maybe 1 hour, somewhere maybe 2 hours, somewhere maximum maybe 4 hours, 6 hours. That's it. If the plant is too far, if 1 or 2 such plants are there, otherwise we are there with every OEM either in the same compound, or we are sharing the common wall, or we are within 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. So all plants are such. But in this kind of a situation, you have to be very, very agile. And then you have to meet your customers' requirement on that basis. So we are keeping a lot of, we have identified the alternate sources, because the raw material prices are going up, the zinc prices, the aluminum prices, the steel prices, everything is going up or has gone up. Nickel is again soaring so much. So oil, gas, lubricants, paints, chemicals, everything. So whatever item is used, and that is going very high. So one is the alternate sources, because those who could not enter, now for them it's an opportunity. They can enter. We have to stock little extra material, so we don't know which model will be required and what will be happening. So a lot of fluctuations are there. So we are keeping little extra material. The logistic cost has gone so high, unthinkable. What Alokji was talking about, it has gone very high. So we are trying to create various methods by which we can reduce some logistic cost. Wherever we are using diesel, we are trying to convert them into CNG vehicles and those kind of things. We are trying to localize the imported material. So wherever we were importing, now we are trying to localize them, and ultimately better planning through increased lead time consideration and change in ordering cycles accordingly. So all those things we are doing, but it's a very, very uncertain situation. And especially during this war kind of a situation where no one can predict anything, what's going to happen. But still, to survive, whatever best can be done, so all of us we are doing. But we have yet to see the impact of this war, because that is not very clearly known. But as I said, that we have to be very agile in our planning and execution. So, and we have to keep working on daily basis. So no advanced planning can be done. So it is kind of, and we have to overcome such known and unknown challenges on daily basis. This is what I can say.
No, thank you so much. It's a lot of learning that we can't plan. You have to handle the situation every day as the things come. Even Alokji and JD were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That you never know what is in store for us when you get up in the morning, and then you have to handle it the best way you can.
Yeah.
And that's really very, very kind of you. A lot of learning. And before I request the professors for questions that have come to them, I only want to, of course, because of support of Alok ji, Arya ji, and JD Singh and all the industry friends, you'd be very happy to know that, especially with us, in the last 2 years, so we were online since March 20 because of the COVID stipulations and expectations and requirements. Our batch, which was to placed in 2020 for jobs, they got 100% placed. Our next year batch, who joined in 28, had to graduate now in August 22 because the session started late because of the government directions. So they have to graduate in August 22. And can you believe this time the placements have been far better or much more than the previous years. And even when the students were in the third semester, because earlier the sessions used to start in June. And by next September, you were almost completing by next October 3 semesters. So now since semester was starting late, so in September, you are just beginning your third semester when full 1 more year the students have to study. So our 50% students are picked up at the beginning of the third semester. And by now, when we have another, say, 5 or 6 months for the students who graduate, 91% students have already got top jobs. Okay. And for the remaining also, every day there's a company at the campus. And students have become choosy. Now we are after the students that why don't you pick up the job? They're getting to so very choosy that they are not picking up the companies. And surprisingly, I mean, you will be happy to know, all this is happening online. Admissions happened online, studies happened online, and jobs are happening online. So we are only now hoping very keenly that students start coming to the campus. Things have opened up, environment is fine, government has opened up everything. So we are now, and after this event of, because we are part of the present summit that we all three are into or all four are into, it is a part of the, as mentioned in the beginning, it's a national level inter-college festival that is happening at the college for the last 3 years. So the students wanted to wind up the festival with the CEO summit. So we are hoping that students now would start coming to the campus in a very big way. But maybe I would give total credit to all the faculty present here, all the staff there, and the hard work done by the students sitting home, that things have continued to be as good, or maybe I shouldn't say, but better than they were even earlier, the pre-COVID days. So let's hope that we can carry on with this thing. Reason was only one, as you all mentioned. Reason was only one, that when March 20 happened, we realized that but for very strong learning in the digital, in the AI, in the ML, in the data science field, everybody will not be able to go to the top. We had specializations of MBA in digital marketing, MBA in artificial intelligence and data science, but only 40% students were taking those specializations. So what we did was, all students who were studying marketing, who were studying operations and supply chain, who were studying HR, who were studying finance. So we made, in addition to a subject called emerging technologies, which was made compulsory for everybody, and we made 70% as the graduating or pass marks in those subjects. And then we introduced, our faculty worked very hard. Within 4 weeks, they created 40-hour modules on artificial intelligence and data science that were given to all the specialization students. Similarly, 40-hour modules were prepared on the digital marketing. They were given to all the students as a compulsory learning. And obviously everything, the 100 new things we did were without any cost, without any extra cost. We gave benefit to the students to pay their fee as per their convenience. Large number of students paid their fee after completing the program and after even getting the jobs. So we said, you take your time, we are in no hurry. So things have been fine, but it's all because of the support and the guidance that we people keep receiving from each one of you who are very closely guiding and supporting us. Thank you so very much. And Professor Tina and Professor Komal, you can take up the questions, please.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sirs, for sharing your wonderful experience and learnings with us. I'm sure that all the attendees have benefited from your experiences. And I request the audience to please type in their questions in the Q&A tab. So, sir, the first question that we would request all of you to answer is that there's a lot of evidence in the research that innovation is important for multiplying industry fortunes and results. And as industry leaders who have been stalwarts and have taken your companies to greater heights, what ways would you suggest to younger generation for boosting innovative mindsets? How could youngsters boost innovative mindsets? If you could give them some advice. And I would request if Alok sir, you would like to start? And then
I think innovative mindsets is going to be the future of the world, the future of progress. You see, now it's no longer about what factories you build and what great structures are made. Those are frankly now somewhat white elephants. It's all about the idea. So all of us must keep ourselves open and receptive, especially the senior management, and encourage the youngsters coming in, encourage all the young people to think, to give them space and the ability to make mistakes and not just try and box them into one way. Innovate for everything. I can tell you, we had a collaboration with Toyota many years back, and one of our workers, as you know, when you make a car, people have grease on their hands and then the car go along. So one of our workers came up with a very simple thing: why do we make a magnet? So we just put leather apron around every car. Just kept working in the team, and this is now a standard operating procedure in Toyota worldwide. So no one has a monopoly on ideas, on brains, on innovativeness. That can come from anywhere, from the base level employee, the base level trainee to the chief executive. So we have to be aware. Also, I would suggest to all industry that a lot of institutions like NDIM and many, many others have now great platforms, great information technology driven platforms for creativeness. I know that some of the others have that, and I'm sure NDIM also, because you do a lot of AIML. We should actually encourage this. We should participate. We should help fund so that people are coming up with ideas. And I see ideas in all fields, whether it's agriculture, whether it's industry, whether it's IT, whether it's software. And some of these ideas which youngsters are coming up with are magnificent. And I think the new industry, new age technologies will all bear on that. Meanwhile, I'm sorry, I'm going to just barge in. There was one interesting question from a gentleman called Jatin Grover. What to do when you're unable to find solution for a problem? There is no problem which doesn't have a solution. Solution you may not like, maybe the solution, but there is always a solution. My personal view is, I think the word Mr. Arya used was agility. We have to think, and we have to use all the resources, which is essentially all the other people we have in our companies and in our circle. Sound them out, give them the problem, let them throw it around, let them toss it around, toss it, and I can guarantee you, you will come up with a solution. There is just no problem which doesn't have a solution. The solution may be different from what you thought it was.
Right.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Sir.
To pass it on.
Yeah. Thank you. Arya sir, would you like to add something? Yeah.
Yeah, like what Alok ji said, same way in our organization, we have done this Leap to Unlock, the project, which is for identifying the hidden potential of the people. And as I was saying that this project of artificial intelligence, which we took, that started as a startup, and it was only from the problem statement that what are we going to do in this given circumstances, the face recognition. So that was done through AI. Then the social distancing, that was done through AI. So all those things were done during this period, and that created a new startup in our own organization itself. So same way, whenever there is any problem, so we have to really see that what is the solution, and then like this word Kaizen in Japanese. So the people start working on it, and small Kaizens. And ultimately, sometimes the big Kaizens, that becomes a startup, that becomes a project. So I think this mindset of innovation, that is not, there is nothing like कि कहीं कोई दुकान है जहाँ वो मिलता है, वो जाके आप उसकी उसमें implant करवा लें उसका. So there is no such way. I think this is a kind of organization culture, or a family culture, or a friend's culture, where they keep discussing, then such things gets generated. So this is what I personally feel.
Right. Thank you. JD sir, your thoughts?
Yes, sir. Yes, please. I would say I would just like to add a few, one or two more points. Basically, innovation is either to increase somebody's player or decrease somebody's pay. That is a mantra of innovation. And all innovation in the world, they move around this thing. Now, innovation is basically something, in my view, something very individual. These things are not readily taught. Who taught Bill Gates? Nobody. So basically, from a childhood, I see in my home, my son, my grandson, he studies in Shriram school, Bunsel. Now, these are good quality schools, so they teach them from ABC. Now, I see him, sometimes he talks to me, and I'm surprised, who teaches them all these things? I mean, at his age of 11 years, we didn't know anything like this. But that is the schooling system where they start learning and they then pick up. My elder grandson tells me, Abba, Dadu, if I get 9 out of 10, it's shame for me. Can you imagine? A 12 year, 13 years boy is telling me, it's shame for me if I get 9 out of 10. Does it mean you want to get 10 out of 10? Yes, why not? There are boys who are getting it. Why not me? तो ये क्या है कि ये एक शुरू से ही होता है. इनोवेटिव माइंड जो है ये पढ़ाया नहीं जा सकता. ये आपको शौक होता है छोटी छोटी चीजों के. How this can happen? How could I mean, small thing. देखिए आप tape, this what do you call this, audio tapes. We used to listen through audio tapes, and today everything is gone. It's all in the phone. So 100 things are in the phone. So somebody has done some work, you know. तो ये पढ़ाया नहीं जाता. ये तो I mean, this has to be, you know, experience through the ups and downs of life, you know, the amount of interest you take in things. And the best part is the industry should encourage these kind of boys. I would say to the extent that we should, every good size industry should have some kind of fund to promote such kind of brains, you know, to go and see. So that's the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So may I ask something? Yeah. First, I would like to really thank you for the wonderful and a very knowledgeable session. One thought, sir, as the world is moving towards endemicity, and we have realized that challenges will always continue to arise, and so will be the new solutions. Today, our biggest challenges are revolving around COVID's knockout effects on talent, on supply chain, inclusive growth, and many more. So have we arrived at a stage where we cannot have anything stable, constant? And how important would be flexibility and resilience along with maintaining cost efficiency? Or is flexibility going to be the key driver for survival and growth? So maybe Arya sir or JD sir.
I would say for the time being, maybe for the next 2, 3, 4 years, flexibility is the rule of the game. We cannot be like in the past, you know, rigid on things. We have to be flexible.
So resilience and flexibility are going to be the key parameters for growth and survival.
Yeah.
Dr. Komal, may I come into this?
Yes, sir. Please, I'm waiting.
You know, we run a couple of schools in Kora, etc., and they're for lower income, economically weaker children. And I must say, my hats off to the teachers who are all involved. Since you're a teacher, I will, and I'm sure you would have the same experience also. In such a short time, when in March the schools were shut down and children were sent home, the online classes started. I think you were given hardly 15, 20 days. And most schools, from the top to bottom, the teachers managed somehow. The children managed in their house to get smartphones. They must have been not the fancy ones we all use, but 1,000, 2,000 rupee phones. And the children came online and they learned how to get on and do their learning. So a lot of the learning, the children didn't lose 2 years. So I think change is something which is constant, and it shows how much flexibility is there in our system. Our people can do it, they just have to be pushed a bit. As Mr. Singh said, flexibility is a way of life now. Change is the only constant. And resilience, in India, we are extremely resilient. You know, we've had invasions for thousands of years from all over the world. They all become Indians at the end of the day. So if anyone else in the world comes here to challenge us, we will imbibe and bring him into our culture, and they will also become Indians. So I think as Indians, we are extremely resilient. That's what I wanted to say.
That's what we did to the Mughals, you know, Indianize them.
True.
Right, sir.
Arya ji may like to add here.
I think enough is said on this particular point. I would only add the speed also. Like what Alok ji was saying, that within such a short span of time, everything was done so fast. So speed is the essence. So if we take too much of time in planning and action, then the whole thing is lost. So speed is very, very important.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Right.
Very, very important.
Right.
That's what we've been doing, you know, we all been doing in the industry.
Sure, sir. So, sir, all of you addressed this issue, but there is a question from one of the students that looking at the current global crisis, the practices of industries are going to go through a lot of changes. The way we used to do business, the way we used to source our requirements is going to change. What do you foresee in terms of our requirements for automobile and chemical industry, looking at the current scenario in the next 2 years? If Arya sir, would you like to comment on this?
No, the question is not really very clear to me.
So they would like to know that looking at the current situation in the crisis, the Russia and Ukraine crisis, how would it impact your industry in next 2 years?
No, like the petroleum products, everything, the prices are going so high. As it is, many people were already thinking to move from the present diesel or petrol car to electric car. In any case, in two-wheelers, the electric vehicles are coming quite fast, and in public transport, the electric vehicles are coming quite fast. So same way now that will get expedited. And what was going to happen, let's say in 20 years, now that may happen in 15 years, 10 years, and maybe much faster. So that will be one impact definitely will happen. And second, I think this particular thing, like many of the people, those who have started working from home, so that will become more and more popular. As it is, all of us, we have practiced it for so long. So now there is no need. And maybe the demand of office space will also go down. Otherwise, that was going so high. So these are the few things which comes to my mind.
Sure, sir. Thank you. JD, sir. Sir, you're not audible.
Kindly unmute, sir. Kindly unmute.
Sorry. I'm talking about the impact of Ukraine and Russian war. I would say so far, things are not all that alarming and bad. Things are moving the way they were moving. But of course, it's sliding down, slowly but surely. Already in our company, we are getting a lot of inquiries from Russia. And we don't know what to do with them, where to supply, and from where we get payments. But they need it. They very badly need the spare parts and all that. And the profit margins, you can, I believe we can add up to 200, 300% profit margin if you want. But where to supply? You can't do that, you know. So it's the magnitude of the impact of war which will determine. where do we go from here now? Energy is going up, If not today, tomorrow it is going to up and skyrocketing. Chemicals, everything is going up and up. So where would the things end up? We don't know. It's all confusion. It's all basically a big confusion at this time. And I think we can just touch and go, but we cannot really sincerely talk about it. We are all very new to this problem.
Right, sir. And Alok, sir, from the chemical industry standpoint?
Look, I will say, I will talk a little because we're also an auto in an oblique way. But while the electric cars are coming, I don't think petrochemical requirements, requirements for lubricants and things is going to come down, because that is a universal requirement. Automobile is just one of the consumers. And I think every disaster has a lot of opportunity. I mean, if you go into history, you will see that whenever there's been a time of war, it's been the time of the maximum innovations. The first jets and the first these supersonic firearms were actually made by the Nazis at the end of the Second World War. It was just fortunate that the war ended and they were not able to deploy them. But people who see history would remember those V1 and V2 rockets which bombed London. So they were all supersonic missiles. So innovation comes at the time of disasters. Innovation comes at the time of war, as do profits. So what Singh Saab is saying, I understand that. Russia is not going to shut down. It's a huge country. It's bigger than Europe. It's, I think, twice the size of Europe, or 3 times, almost double the size of the US. So they're not going to shut down. They will figure out ways of continuing and surviving. They will get support from China. They will get support from India. They will get support from even a lot of Western countries who will be happy selling to Europe. They may say no. But if you remember at the start of this war also, Shell, which is a Dutch company, which is part of NATO, did not stop buying Russian oil. It was only when a huge amount of public pressure came, they shut down. So everyone may make the right noises, but at the end of the day, a corporate entity looks at profit. So you have to look at reality also. Russia will survive. The opportunity for a country like India, with our relationship with Russia, is to actually supply products there. Hopefully the government to government relationship will ensure some form of payment realizations, which will allow our companies to develop products for them. Change itself is going to be a constant. If anyone thinks that things are going to go the way they were, they will not. I think we have to realize industries will thrive, some industries will shut down, things will change. In automobile industry, for example, if electric vehicles become as big as they're supposed to become, I personally don't believe they're going to become that big. But if that happens, then your whole internal combustion engine is out of the window, which means 20, 30,000 part manufacturers per type of engine are going to be out of work. So those will go, but a whole new industry of electric vehicles, batteries, this, that, and the other will start up. So I think this is the cycle of business. It will happen. It will continue. There is nothing different. Since we are in this time, we are seeing the change. 100 years from now, we will say that also happened, as happened 100 years back when the automobile started. Before Model T Fords, everyone was in horse carriages. Suddenly, now you don't go in horse carriages. I don't remember seeing a horse carriage in the last 50 years. So these changes will come, and they'll be catalytic in many industries.
Right, sir. Thank you.
You want to take one more question, Dr. Komal, and then we'll take leave?
Yes, sir. So sir, you are talking about electric cars. So post-pandemic mobility will continue to become more digital, more connected, and especially more electric. How much of this mobility would require changes in capabilities? Like, would organization would be ramping more on software engineers relative to mechanical engineers significantly? And would there be a paradigm shift in the type of work and the type of employments are happening?
That's a difficult question. Yes, certainly many more software engineers, many more computer hardware engineers are coming in. But I think what is going to happen for industries like ours is that the basic mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, what we would call the base level engineers, even civil engineers, for example, they will all have to have a fairly good understanding of software and software systems of electronics. And I think the kind of software which has now started coming in, the kind of systems which are coming, are much easier to use. So I think they will become much more user friendly. And really what will happen is that the engineers or the people on the shop floor or in our offices will have to reskill themselves to use that. I mean, I can give an example of when I started working, we used to have a secretary, we still have, but the secretary's major job was typing. Now, a secretary, I think, barely does one letter a week, if anything. And that skill of shorthand and thing is all history. So the secretary today has to reskill himself or herself to a very different set of skills to stay relevant. And I think that is what happened.
Yeah, and I would also add a very small thing to this, is that yes, with the changing times, the type of skill requirement will change. The type of education that is being imparted will change, because all these things have to keep pace with what is the industry expectation. And as there's one question from Dear and Reddy, do the panelists believe that present academic training is compatible to industry requirement? So this is very important that students and the academia stay connected to the industry. Industry always, because unless your curriculum, what you're being taught, unless the methodology of teaching and training you, unless that is decided by the industry, unless your college, maybe it's an MBA college, maybe it's engineering college, best of the engineering colleges and best of the MBA colleges will not be able to keep pace unless they are learning from the industry every day. It is the industry professionals who have to set up not only the curriculum and the teaching methodologies or pedagogies, they also have to set up your question papers. The industry has to decide whom to pass and whom not to pass. So this is what fortunately we at NDIM are doing, and that is what is making all the difference. And that is the reason why for 3 years by the AICT and 5 years by the SOCHM, NDM has been declared as the best industry-linked college. So best industry-linked college only means that you pick up a thread from the industry every day. So present academic training has no meaning till it is dictated and guided and monitored by the industry. And for all future times to come, it will be those management experts who also have some basic foundation of technology with them. And so for that thing, presently, even non-coding platforms have come. Those people who had no scientific background, science background, those people who had no technical background, they have been trained fantastically by our faculty into AI, ML and all digital methods, because you don't need any coding. Only the faculty has to be very futuristic, and faculty has to keep learning from the industry every day. Please, Tina, take your final question.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. So, sir, a lot of student organizers have messaged me personally, and they said since senior leaders are here, and they wanted to understand that since your companies are hiring a lot of youngsters and are going to hire in future as well in next 1 or 2 years, especially the management graduates, what type of skill sets would you look for, and what kind of attitude are you expecting from fresh management graduates, let's say who pass out in year 23 or 24? Arya sir, we could start with you, especially from your company standpoint, and then we can take it from all.
Like what we were talking just now about what kind of engineers will be required or what kind of professionals will be required. So I would say whether it's whichever industry is there, but especially in our industry, automotive and IT sector is at a point where both will merge, and we will need a kind of mechatronic and auto artificial intelligence engineers rather than mechanical engineers. The curriculum would need transformation. Having said that, many online courses are nowadays available for youngsters to learn newer technologies and software engineering. Important is to work on projects which are close to the actual requirement of the industry. So just with the digital education, one can learn from the best of the colleges across the globe, and one should take advantage of the same. So what is required by the industry, that as Dr. Bunsel was saying, that working very close with the industry, that will help. Otherwise, you are teaching something and the industry needs something else. That will be two different ways. So IT and automotive will not be two different subjects, it will get merged.
Okay.
The same is in the style of management.
Right.
So all those things we will have to understand.
Any specific soft skills, sir, you look for?
Like what Alok ji was saying, the people management, that will always be the key thing, whether our industry or any industry, because what happens normally, if there is no team, no proper team, even there is a good leadership, but if the team is not there, nothing can be done. So the HR becomes very, very important.
Right. Thank you.
I would like to add a few points. Hello, can I say something?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, we must not forget that an automobile, car or truck or whatever it is an automobile. It was previously driven by not a horse, but an engine or a transmission system. Now they have taken out these two elements from a car. Instead of that, they put the batteries. But the car is still the car. It's primarily the car. So mechanical engineers will always be needed, because the car is car, the truck is truck. All the suspension systems you are talking about, chassis and everything. And I mean, it is just only the engine and the transmission mainly, which is gone, But rest, everything is there. Lighting is there. Suspension system is there. So you need everything, Okay, engine-related products will go away. Those industries are going to be affected, whether it's me or anybody. They will be affected. And as Surendra Arya said, very rightly, that what do you call mechatronic? Electronic. So the mechanical and the electronic will have to merge together. That is required in the automotive industry, and probably maybe tomorrow railway industry, maybe tractor or whatever, everywhere it will be required. So your probably, I think, primary question is, I mean, of course, are we teaching the right thing to the students to absorb in the future? Yes, you have to. You can learn from it. That it's not that only mechanical is gone and electric has come. No, don't be that fast in your decisions. They will stay here. They will stay here always, because basically you must understand one thing, that IT is a service industry, service to something. It is not a industry of its own. It's not like automobile, like aircraft, like engine, like it's not. It's just a service to make it more efficient. So the industries, whether A, B, C, or D, will remain there all the time. So still, I would say to my mind, mechanical engineering is the most important engineering, is the mother of all engineering.
Thank you, sir. Alok, sir, any addition to the soft skills or management skills?
Yeah, I would certainly like to pitch in. I'm not going to talk about the hard skills. I think Surendra ji and JD have talked about. Actually, when I hire people, I really look. The other people ask the technical questions to any whether it's an accountant or an engineer. I actually only look for attitude. My whole emphasis is on attitude. I don't mind if someone's technical skill in his chosen field is a little lower, but if he has a can-do attitude, the right attitude to work and complete the tasks that are given to him, I will certainly take him over someone who is technically superior but is not having the right, what I would call attitude. I haven't tried to put down what I mean by attitude, but basically someone who once comes in, he starts taking responsibility and owning a job. That's what I look for.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Before we close, I just saw a specific query by Mr. Pramod addressed to me. So, Mr. Pramod, it's very simple. You know what I said? It is not for record's sake only. I'll just tell you, in our case, the 132 very senior people from the industry who decide what curriculum has to be taught to our MBA students. And their names you can see on the website. Everything is very open. Okay, they have volunteered that their names can be displayed on the website. Similarly, you will see on the website under the mentoring program, there are 354 very top recruiters and industry professionals who sit with our students regularly to handhold them and take them where the academia cannot take them. Would you believe when this COVID started, I must tell you a small story and we will wind up there. In March 20, we thought that what will happen to our mentoring program. Because earlier all mentors were either coming physically to the campus or they were calling our students to their offices. So, but we thought it's very important learning from the industry, it must continue. Fortunately, I would say the online thing or the COVID came as a blessing because the industry specialists or industry professionals were also sitting home, working from home. It saved all their time in speaking with the students. So between May 20 and now, say between March 22, almost 584 mentoring sessions have been taken by the industry professionals with our students, and we divide 3 or 4 students and give them to one mentor. So it has been big learning, and I repeat, and that we have been doing from day one, is that unless you teach what industry wants, and unless you know what industry needs, any MBA or any engineering is not worth it at all. So I wouldn't say more than that. It's been a long time. We have been holding such senior people for almost now 2 hours. So thank you very much, Alok ji. Thank you very much, Jagdip Singh ji, and thank you very much, Arya ji. You have been a big support, big support all the time. And thank you, Professor Komal. Thank you, Professor Tina. Thank you, all the organizer students, because big thanks go to you. You contacted me and all the NDIM team about 3 months back when we were in the Omicron stage. And you said that we want to do it 3-day festival. At that time, I was very apprehensive. But since I never say no to anything that comes my way, so I said, yes, please go ahead. We'll be very happy. But I was very apprehensive all the time. So you young guys have done tremendously good and great job for the last 3 days. Kudos to you, best wishes to you, and big congratulations to you. And thank you very much, the academia and the industry who is joining us from across the country for great learning at the hands of these 3 very seasoned, very professional, very down to earth CEOs, you may call them, CMDs, you may call them, but they continue to be like Prime Minister Modi, ke hum sevadar hain. So thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.